Today is Monday of Holy Week, and I thought that I would share a brief reflection to help us reflect on the events that lead up to Easter and also on our current predicament. I was startled this morning to read this in morning prayer. It's from the Book of Lamentations, which was the first reading. And the very first words I read were, "How lonely sits the city that was once full of people." How lonely indeed. That's probably the experience of all of us at the moment. The streets are empty, whether you're in Solihull or Coventry or even Meriden that I visited this afternoon to pick up one or two provisions. It represents a form of exile. Indeed, the words from Jeremiah, from the Book of Lamentations, were written in the year 586. It is believed probably by Jeremiah, in the context of the exile to Babylon. In the year 586, the great Babylonian emperor Nebuchadnezzar conquered Jerusalem and deported a significant majority of the population to Babylon. It was an utter catastrophe. Those who were left behind articulated their feelings probably very much as Jeremiah did. The cities are bereft of people, which were once full. And no doubt the exiles themselves wondered what awaited them in an entirely different and pagan culture. I think that theme of exile is one which is deeply relevant in the context of our own current experience, because we're all exiled by degrees at the moment. We are exiled from our normal places of work and interaction. We're incarcerated in a kind of enforced retreat in our own homes. We are unable to engage with our family and friends in the ways that we are used to out in the public square, let alone the home. And indeed, as a clergyman, having to take funerals from time to time, I'm acutely conscious that many people are deeply upset at the small number of people that are allowed at the graveside or in the crematorium, and indeed spouses who are self-isolating are not allowed to attend. But I think we need to remember, however bleak things seem, that exile was a time of huge growth for the people of God. Their vision of God enlarged from being the small tribal God that they were formerly committed to God being the God of the whole universe, who created all that is. They also acquired a very much sharper sense of their own identity and their mission in the world. So there was a very bright silver lining to the dark cloud that they were encompassed by. And my hope is that during this period of exile that we're all experiencing, that our vision of God will enlarge, that our sense of identity would clarify, and our perception of what God is calling us to do in this world will deepen. We need to remember how that reading from Lamentations ends. I think some of the most encouraging verses in the entirety of Scripture, notwithstanding that this is a lamentation. The steadfast love of the Lord never ceases. His mercies never come to an end. They are new every morning. Great is thy faithfulness. That is the thing about lamentation. Lamentation is not an expression simply of utter despair and bereftness. Lamentation creates space for hope to emerge, as it does in that wonderful reading from morning prayer this morning.